It's that time of year again. That time of year where I start to feel kind of strange, more melancholic, slower, less motivated, and in general, almost like I need some kind of reset. This seems to happen to me every summer of every year. I start to feel like I'm stagnating or just more emotional and not with it. The productivity and extreme levels of happiness that I seem to have from the fall through the spring all go away during summertime. Why? I don't know. I really don't. But without fail, every single summer, this thing happens where my brain starts to slow down, where I cease to feel as happy or motivated as normal. And, I don't really get like emotionally unstable the way that I used to, because the more the years have gone on, the more I've kind of evened out and abandoned a lot of the instability that I used to talk about on this channel. But nonetheless, I do face these disturbances in my mood, but especially in my cognition. And why it happens, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why this seems to happen whenever we enter summertime. I've read studies before that found that when it gets particularly hot out, people start experiencing more like mental health symptoms, like schizophrenia. People with schizophrenia tend to have more symptoms than normal when it gets really hot out. People who are predisposed to violence tend to become more violent, and you see violent crime go up in summertime. Obviously, my reaction to summertime is not universal. You wouldn't have all of the songs about summer. You wouldn't have all the people happy to be out there doing things with other people if the way I felt was universal, or even in the majority. But I do feel as though I'm living in an odd sort of time. I'm experiencing a lot of odd sensations, and I'm just not totally myself right now, unfortunately. As much as I would like to be, I'm not. And as a result, I don't know. But yeah, I think, in my country, when it gets to be summertime, a lot of the more criminal elements in our society, some of the more low IQ types of people, they start shooting each other. In countries like Israel, they start firing off rockets. And you see this every year, sometimes every couple of years, but usually every year. Israel enters summertime and they start firing off rockets, either with the Palestinians or with some regime that they're trying to do regime change against, be it Syria, be it Lebanon. Now it's Iran, because of course. And it just gets so hot outside that their society experiences a kind of mass psychosis where the only solution is just to start firing off rockets. It's very sad. It's a sad situation to be in, but it is what it is, right? I just feel like, I need to go somewhere. Like, I need to go somewhere really far away and have some new experiences. I just don't know where to go. there's not a lot of third spaces out there these days. There's not a lot of places that a person can go to. And I don't know. Like, back in the day, there used to be cookouts you could go to if you had like certain hobbies or certain interests. There used to be like these big campouts with hundreds of people where you could meet just all sorts of strange people, But these days, I don't know if such a thing exists. Maybe I could find some sort of Discord server for meeting up with people and organize some sort of group that way. I want to go out and meet people and hang out with them, or do something with my life, something that isn't alone, something that isn't solitary. Just to feel something different, just to have something other than the status quo. Even though I know that usually what happens when I go out and do that, it doesn't end very well, or like I say something awkward or something, but it's like I just want to make those mistakes right now. Right now, like, I want to kind of be awkward and put myself out there just for the hell of it, just to see what happens, maybe to try and learn to deal with that a little bit better too, because that's a good skill in life, of course. And I don't know, man. I don't feel right. Most of the year, I wake up every day and I feel happy and motivated and ready to go every single day. Then summer comes and everybody's blasting their fucking terrible pop music, and I don't fucking know, man. It's just like, I find it hard to connect with people, to really enjoy a lot of conversations or what a lot of people are about, I find it really hard. I don't know how people do it, I want a friend group of some kind or more experiences on the outside, but I don't know how to get them. I feel like I'm just gonna be this in my room guy for the rest of the summer until it starts to be fall and I start to feel better again. Because right now I'm not on that high that I was on for so often recently. I don't have all that going on. I'm just in a strange place right now. And I feel like I could do with some new experiences. I could do with trying to get outside of my comfort zone and just see what happens, There are things about my life that I want to be different, that like I'm actually working on, obtaining. Language learning is the really big thing, I've always wanted to be a polyglot, and nowadays I'm actually pursuing that every day, even in spite of feeling like this. But there's other things I want to do with my life too. There's other skills that I want to obtain. And sometimes I wonder, how do other people have so much bandwidth to be able to consistently fill out so much of their day with activities and with practice and things like that? How do they not reach a point where they're just, not operating at full capacity, and then they make dumb mistakes that they wouldn't normally make? Like, I feel like so many other people out there, like they have so many different skills. They're doing so many of the things that I want to do. But then, of course, there's a lot of people who can't even do the things that I can do. So it exists on a gradient. That's part of that's one of the reasons why comparing yourself to others is not really all that useful. But they do remind me of all the stuff that, like, I want to be able to do. All the experiences that I want to have had that I haven't had yet. And I feel like I'm not reaching my potential. I'm not doing really all the things that I should have done in life yet. And I find myself regretting how long it took me to do the things that I'm doing now, like with language learning, for example. If I started doing this in the way that I'm doing it now when I was 16, I would know 3 languages by now, and I'd know them fluently. I just always wanted to, but didn't know how to. And I got overwhelmed instead of just staying calm and absorbing the information. And now I'm here, right? I try not to think about the past too much. I try not to think about, like, what I could have done before I started, because that's not useful. Some people are just late bloomers. But, there is this feeling at times where you see other people around you who are the same age or younger, and they've done a lot more things, or they have a lot more skills, and it's just like, damn, I'm trying to get there right now. I'm just now starting, and that can be difficult, I think, at times, because you have all this stuff you want to do, and you feel like you should have done it already, and nobody wants to play catch up, Ultimately, you have to, because there's not any other choice. What's the alternative? Just not doing anything for the rest of your life? That's not a good alternative. And ultimately, the reason we should be doing these things is because we enjoy them. That's the same reason most of these other people did. They didn't do it just because they wanted to be something, right? And so that perspective too is important, because if you don't have the right perspective, you'll just give up. And so most of the time, I'm trying to focus on just the sheer fact of, like, this stuff is enjoyable to do and to learn about. But sometimes I do have these moments kind of in isolation where I'm like, yeah, I want to be all these things, I want to do all these things, and I'm not there yet. But everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has to begin at a certain point, and this turned out to be my point. And as to how I balance that, my goals with having a social life, with doing other things, I don't know. I don't know how to organize time like that. It always stuns me, the way that other people are able to organize their life, because I just look at all the things that they do, all the media they consume, all the, all the skills that they have, and I'm like, how in the world did you do this? Do you never just have times when it feels like your brain is like really tired, where it feels like, you're operating at like 10% of what your normal capacity is because you've just done so much stuff, like I wonder. I really do feel as though some other people must just have like incredible cognitive stamina. People think that my cognitive stamina is really good because of how long I can study for in one day, but that's only because I am strictly doing that one thing. If I only do one thing all throughout my day, yeah, my brain is going to work really well. Yeah, I'm going to be able to operate at a high level. Yeah, I'm going to be able to get a lot of stuff done, but it has to just be that one thing. I don't know how to get the same level of like work done or like a comparable level and then also do a bunch of other things. My brain just starts to feel overloaded. It seems like I'm geared in this very linear way, like these like singular activities that I just do over and over as a ritual, and I do them all the time. It's like my brain has the capacity to do that, but then once you start introducing all this other stuff, I just get overloaded or overwhelmed, and I don't know, something starts to happen in there. I start to lose it. I start to get really tired. I stop being able to find the words for things. Yeah, I don't know. I get really tired nowadays. Like at the end of the day when I'm like pretty sleepy and like I'm just slower than normal, like I'll be talking to someone and I'll try to look for the word for something in my head, and I'll have the picture of the thing that I'm thinking about and the Spanish word for it will come to my head, and then it'll take me a couple seconds and then I'll say the English word, which I think is interesting. It's almost becoming like it's easier for me to reach for the Spanish names of things because I more strongly associate what those things look like with what they're called in Spanish, whereas like what I call them in English just feels like this more abstract concept, which I think is kind of interesting to see that happen to oneself. And then that at that point it's like maybe I should just be talking to people in Spanish all day instead of in English. Like maybe if I moved to a Spanish speaking country and I had all Spanish speaking friends, maybe I would be happier, or maybe not happier, but just more satisfied, right? I can use it with people around here from time to time, but it's not as if I'm surrounded by it when I leave my house. I'm surrounded by it when I'm in my house, but not when I go out there. It's just random people speaking it, and that's always interesting. That's always a fun experience, but it is what it is, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've been going through it. That's sort of my perspective, and it's mainly just today. The last couple days there were some similar things going on, but it really escalated today. I think just because of the sheer consistency of feeling this way can kind of put a strain on you. Maybe I should seek out some new friends. I also think that like being on the phone is detrimental to me. I use this phone for my educational apps, but I do find myself, checking messaging apps a little too much, using the browser on it a little too much. When you have that much information in the palm of your hand, it it can start to rewire things in your brain and like mess with your ability to focus and to think, which is part of the reason I did the dumb phone thing for so long in the first place. And I thought I could handle having a smartphone again. And to be fair, I am using it in a less like insane kind of way than what I used to do. But how long is that going to last for? How long is it going to be until I stop having this level of self-control about my usage, and then I start, using the smartphone in a stupid way again? And at that point, it's like, do I need to just turn it into a dedicated learning device? Like, get rid of all the other apps, take the SIM card out, and then put that in like a different phone that I only use for calls? Like, maybe that's actually what I need to do. One of the main reasons I put the SIM card in this thing in the first place was just so I could use mobile hotspot whenever my power goes out, or whenever the fucking the tornadoes or the rain fucks something up, because that likes to happen where I live. They love rain and tornadoes, and it can make the internet go out at times because they fuck with the lines, the lines that, the cables or whatever. And when that happens, yeah, shit gets fucked up, and you don't have a connection. And I need a Wi-Fi connection for a lot of things, so that was my excuse for having the smartphone. But now I'm starting to think that maybe it's detrimental, so I don't know. I might have to do something about that soon. Maybe. I have a working dumb phone somewhere still, that I can easily use. Yeah, I might just do that. Discord hasn't been too much of a problem because I have it on a computer that I barely use. So I haven't gone through a phase of just being on there constantly. Again, I pretty much only log in like once, maybe twice a day. And in that time, I send a couple messages and they get replied to the next day, and I go on the next day and then I reply again. I'm not on there regularly. So that app is good for now. Obviously, if it becomes a problem, I know what to do, but I don't think it will. I think I have a pretty good approach to that app. I mean, it's the same way that, people who do drugs, which is not something I would ever endorse on this channel, but using them as an example, one of the harm reduction techniques that they use is to put their drugs in what's called a time-based safe. And in a time-based safe, they're not going to engage in any usage until the timer on the safe goes off, and then that's when they allow themselves to have it again, which I think is a really brilliant idea, because there you don't run the risk of indulging too much and getting the negative health effects from that. You can just kind of moderate. But yeah, I think a lot of people even do that for their phones. They lock their phones up in smart boxes or whatever for however many hours, and then they use them again later. And then on the more extreme end, you have the dumb phone trend. So yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, yeah, I think I miss being on a dumb phone already. I mean, I have Anki on here. I have so many learning apps on this phone, but if I just exclusively used it for those, it wouldn't be a problem, you know? Um, there was a time when people read books when they couldn't get out of their head. They read books. They didn't put a podcast on to drown out the noise in their head or to drown out the memories. They just read a book. And that used to be me. I used to be one of the last people who repped that, who still engaged in that behavior from seemingly a bygone era. Now maybe I should go back to that. I don't know. It just, I don't like the direction any of this stuff is going in. No, part of me just wants to go to like, I mean, I guess the Northwest Territories isn't snowing right now, but it probably will be soon, you know? Just go somewhere so far up north, like Northwest Territories, Nunavut, somewhere like that. You know, somewhere where they get actual polar bears. Just go up there and just be in the cold again. Because God knows I'm ready for it to get cold here again. I'm ready for it to get cold here again. But it's not yet. You know, I make this call to action when I get lonely, or like when I want people to talk to, or when I'm trying to organize these countrywide meetups, you know, these trips and stuff. Like, hey, hit me up, whatever. I need someone to talk to, but I feel like that hasn't even really been working lately. When I say that in these videos, it seems like, I don't know, maybe people just don't want anything to do with me right now. The people I talk to do, but you know, they're not always around. You can't, you know, people have their own lives, you know. I don't want to bother anybody. But I don't know, man. I guess that was another video.